Satan, thou art but a dunce, and dost not know the garment from the man. Every harlot was a virgin once, nor canst thou ever change Kate into Nan. Though thou art worshipped by the names divine of Jesus and Jehovah, thou art still the son of morning, weary night's decline, the lost traveler's dream under the hill.
I was always a rather modest piano player, to say the least, and although I've written a lot of piano music, it wasn't until I got to know Lisa and got to know her piano playing and became, kind of taken up by her interest in the instrument that I made some serious reinvestigations of the piano. And to have somebody of Lisa's, stature as a player say, well, look at this and see how hard this is to do, and is it, this are the problems, became a very important point of departure for me. So that starting in about 1997, with the piece that I wrote that's called has this 3 stars, the 3 asterisks in it. It's a piano part that really was conceived for Lisa to play. I would let her always have a quick look at all these things and say, well, this is this and this and this. Now, it doesn't always mean that I'm going to do what she says, but which really pisses her off. But I will always take it into account.
Well, it's an evolving thing, though, because I don't think that I feel so confident commenting on the length of phrases or the structure of things as I obviously do with the technical side. But more and more as time goes on, I feel like he's receptive to saying, if I say something like if I'm hearing it over and over again on the computer, like he's composing and, we're sharing a room or something in a hotel, I hear it, and I hear little bits as I come back at the end of the day from practicing. I hear the next section has been added, and if I say that scene once, I was telling you just recently in the flute concerto that I actually felt he reached such a great moment that he should just extend that a little bit, and make it hold. But I don't. I think I'm gathering more confidence with that kind of thing as time goes on.
We very rarely experimented with publicists or with managers. We had a couple of experiences, some okay, mostly
not okay.
Not okay, and particularly Lisa, because a performer needs this, I think, in some ways much more than a composer does. Mm-hmm. And we debated at some point whether it might be an interesting idea if I became Lisa's manager and she became my manager, so that if you called up, you didn't, we had people, as it were. You'd call up to speak to Lisa Moore, and I was Lisa Moore's people, and I'd say, well, we'll get back to you, or something. And because the same thing could happen if somebody called for my materials, that Lisa would act that way. And in the end, our lives have developed in a way that, even though that doesn't happen exactly that way, we do offer each other a good deal of counseling and advice that can be of significant value about the profession and what might be a way to go.
Just to back up to your first question about the symbiosis, that was those were the early days when people first got websites, and we didn't know, I was sort of like, gosh, and he said, oh, we've got this great deal, and she'll set up one for you and set up one for me, but then it was clear that if you looked up one, you saw the other, and then we thought, well, maybe that's not such a great idea, because you do want to also be independent and have an independent image, in this world, because if you go down with each other hook, line, and sinker, you know, you go down with each other hook, line, and sinker. I mean, what are you going to do? You know, if somebody doesn't like Martin's music, and
I
I'm
can't
always
imagine
and
that,
I'm
but
always
still.
associated with it, that's already probably a problem, you know, if, in terms of my career with some people. That's inevitable at this point. But there are some people who won't play their husband's music at all, or their wife's music. I mean, there are some certain people that just you know, they don't want to mix it because it's very hard to mix it. It's hard to have a relationship with someone and also have a professional relationship. You know, many people say, how do you do that? I mean, how do you actually manage to do that? And I think, you know, it's a challenge. You know, I think you both have to have a certain amount of confidence in what you were doing. We certainly do, I think, individually.
Rockete, 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 B. F. Fünfspe. Fünfspe. Fünfspe T. Fünfspe TC. Fünfspe TC U. Fünfspe TC U. Fünfspe TC U. Fünfspe TC U. What strikes me actually quite interesting, and perhaps people hearing this or thinking about it will relate to this in another way and find this to be true. Composers and players don't necessarily always mean the same thing by the very same words that they use. So certain kinds of misunderstandings can develop because the practice in the studio, the piano studio or the violin studio, of describing a certain kind of phenomena is understood differently sometimes by the way composers understand that very same thing. And so sometimes we're talking for a while and I realize that I haven't actually made myself clear in terms that will be useful to Lisa. So I need to retool my language to make myself clear.
And you're always going to get these minor differences with the performers anyway. So, I mean, I do think you should put more marks in because you do have strong opinions about how you want it done.
See, I'm getting a lesson even now. I mean,
I
it's
think
not
you
over.
should put no rubato. If you want no rubato, if you want rhythmic, you've got to put, you know, tempo giusto or whatever. You know, this, you've got to write something, you know, insistent or these things because otherwise people are going to do it. Like, you know, Louis Andriessen writes non-vibrato. I mean, otherwise you're going to get vibrato.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen.
Z epsilon x v v u t s r q k o n m l k i h g f a d c b.
Some part of me that's still very attached to the kind of Stravinsky objectivist tradition of performance and musical content, and less sympathetic in the whole to the romantic or neo-romantic aspect of
Yeah.
of
You can cut that bit.
yeah. Oh, you can cut this bit too, actually.
Yeah, anyway, let's let Frank ask another question.
Well, I just want to finish. Can I finish that thought, though?
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.